Folks, thanks for joining us today for another episode of There Is More. There is more. And the stories that we hear on this channel are about men in particular who have a professional career. They have a circle of friends and family. But those things in and of themselves don't really tell the full story of who they are. There is more when there was a relationship with Jesus, not just in the head that we know about him, but the sense of his presence in our hearts. And so that's what we're doing. I want you to meet a dear friend and brother today, Curt Nelson. Curt, let me shake your hand.
Thank you, Pastor.
And just glad to have you today, and appreciate you making time for this. You're busy, got a lot of plates spinning, and let's start. Let's start
okay.
where you were born where, and then somehow you ended up in San Antonio.
Okay, I was born back in Western New York, Jamestown, New York. About as far west in New York State as you can get. And Jamestown's claim to fame is that's the home of Lucille Ball.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
Lucille Ball.
Lucy is from Jamestown, and small manufacturing town southwest of Buffalo, and so yes, I am a native New Yorker.
How long were you there before you all moved to? You ended up in Minnesota at some point.
Yes, ended up in Minnesota, but we moved from New York to Wisconsin. So I spent most of my growing up years in Wisconsin. So I was just a little guy. I was 4 years old when we left New York, and family moved to a suburb of Milwaukee, and eventually got to Minnesota. So it's been kind of a circuitous route. But yeah.
How many brothers, sisters?
I have 3 older sisters, and so
you're the baby.
I was the baby. I was the baby, and I was the only boy. And came along a little later in life for my parents. So they were just trying to figure out what to do with a boy after 3 girls.
Yeah. Well, and so junior high school in Wisconsin?
Basically, junior high kind of moved around. We were in Wisconsin. Then my dad took a job in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania when I was in 7th grade. So we were in Harrisburg for about a year and a half, moved back to Wisconsin. So when you ask about junior high, I actually spent, a junior high was in 3 different junior highs.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
In Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. And so and then high school was in Racine, Wisconsin, just right on Lake Michigan, just south of Milwaukee, between Milwaukee and Chicago.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Tell me about your parents, your mom and your dad. They obviously were a big part of.
They were
home and growing up.
They were, without a doubt. Blessed to have parents that. They were believers. Both of them loved Jesus, and so I'm so grateful and thankful for that. Never take that for granted because it was pretty special. So my parents, well, let me start with my grandparents. My grandparents were all immigrants from Sweden. So all 4 of my grandparents
immigrants from Sweden
came through Ellis Island and came to America, and so they settled in Western New York, and we were there this weekend actually, and just it struck me that the land there and the landscape and the farms and all that, very similar I think to central Sweden, which is where they were from. So
really?
You can just imagine them coming and settling in Western New York, so that's kind of the background there. But my parents were born in Jamestown. And so my mom was one of 8 kids, big family, 8 children, and
now which one of them immigrated? Which side of the family?
Both sides.
Both sides.
Both.
Really?
Yeah. So, when I hear, especially living in San Antonio as long as we have, and I hear people talking about being, 5th generation Texan and 6th and 7th generations. It's one of those interesting moments because, my parents were born in America, but grandparents
that's amazing.
All came from Sweden.
So you're a second generation.
Second generation.
How about that? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can still like you. You know,
After all this
absolutely.
self-disclosure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get past junior high, high
Junior high,
school,
in
and
high
then
school.
you're headed to college at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was. So I went to the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and so I'm a proud Badger, and really wonderful experience there in college. And you know, it was one of those things too that just, you know, that was, you know, in our family, you know, had not been a lot of folks going to college. That was kind of a big deal for me to go to college, and it was pretty amazing.
What years were that? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Was that,
so
70s?
70s. I graduated from high school in 1974. So
Yeah. Okay.
started in Madison in the fall of '74. Graduated in 1978.
Yeah.
So which you start doing the math, and you know, all of a sudden here we are at 70, and it
How
goes
about
by
that?
quickly.
You know, that was a season, the early 70s, mid 70s, the season of the Jesus movement, Jesus Revolution. Was there any of that stirring that you remember up in Madison by then?
You know, it is interesting. Yeah, so Linda and I both, my wife, Linda grew up in Racine as well. She was from Colorado, I was from New York. Our parents somehow ended up in Racine, and we talked about that again this weekend, that, you know, God and his wisdom and, you know, brought that together. And so Linda went to high school in Racine, went to a different high school in Racine. And so, yeah, it was the mid 70s, and we were in high school in 70, 71, 72. And it had a real impact on both Linda and me, the Jesus movement. And I know, as you've shared over the years, it certainly has with you too.
Yeah.
And
how was it seen where you were? I mean, were there coffee houses or concerts or how did it work?
concerts, and in fact, I've got my Bible here, but I think written right in the front of the Bible is, they'll know we are Christians by our
By
love.
Our Love, that song, yeah.
And that's been in there forever and ever, but that was from the Jesus movement. They'll know we are Christians by our love.
Yeah.
And so musically, I love music. Linda, and I love music. That's not saying I have a voice to
appreciate it,
to share it, but Linda does, and we both have enjoyed the music over the years. And so the music of the 70s, and you know, Rich Mullins and some of the others that you know, He's Alive, He's Alive, and had a major impact on us. We also were involved in church, and so there were a lot of youth group activities. So yeah, that was a
significant
huge impact.
season
in
the life of the nation, and it was where Vietnam was so much at the forefront. The contemporaries were being shipped out, some of them not coming back. You know, my high school classmates and so forth. It was, but the Lord seems to always use times of upheaval to prepare hungry hearts for what He only can bring to the equation, which is peace to the heart. So I wanted to just ask you about that, because it was going on then. Things were going on.
And you know, we live in a time where we have instant media, and there are challenges, and they're difficult. You know, we're living in a turbulent time.
Yeah.
But I have shared, and I really want to share with, you know, our grandkids and the generations that are coming, that you know, it was turbulent in the 60s. I mean, I was a kid in grade school when, you know, President Kennedy was murdered, and Martin Luther King a few years later, and Robert Kennedy, and the race riots of the 60s. And so we've lived in turbulent times, but the message really is God has been faithful.
As
He has been faithful over the years. In the midst of chaos, in the midst of what seems to be really incredibly difficult times, He's just, you know, he is faithful.
And we don't have to read a book about it.
No.
When you've had a chance to live through something like that,
Yeah.
and watch it and realizing from the newspapers, from Walter Cronkite, whoever was giving, all they could do is report. They couldn't
Yeah.
offer any solution necessarily to it. But over time, the Lord was doing a work in the life of our nation. There were mistakes made. There were great tragedies that happened. But in all of that, somehow the Lord brought the attention back to himself where it needed to be.
He did.
Many lives. Yeah.
And he did. And I'll shout that from the mountaintops. He did. I mean, you think back in '74 when we graduated from high school, that summer the president of the country resigned.
Right.
You know, scandal, and he resigned. The vice president resigned the year before.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was just, you know, God was in the midst of it all. He was doing a work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in Wisconsin. We're in college.
We're in college.
And what was your degree? Yeah. What did you major in?
Well, I started out in pharmacy. And,
Pharmacy.
Because I had worked at a Walgreens all throughout high school and didn't really know what I wanted to do, and so I thought, well, I can be a pharmacist. And after organic chemistry, one semester of that, it was like it was just not meant to be for me. So I actually, my degree, I had a double major in economics and international relations, and enjoyed studying that.
That's interesting.
And appreciate all the pharmacists that are out there, because it was just not something that was going to work for me.
Mm-hmm. You and Linda met.
We did
during that time.
We met actually in middle school.
Really?
Middle school. We met at church camp.
Yeah.
We met at church camp in as far northern Wisconsin as you can go, right at the Wisconsin-Michigan border, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and we met at church camp. So she went to a different high school. We had 3 public high schools in Racine, and so we went to 2 different high schools. We also, the church that my family was a part of was a church plant from a church in Racine, and they had planted 2 churches. And so we went to one of the church plants, and Linda and her folks went to the other church plant. But we shared, you know, we all went to camp together in the summer. So yeah, we first met at church camp, and when we were in junior high.
How about that?
Yeah.
And you were married. When did you finish college before you all got married?
Finished college, and Linda actually ended up going to college in Arkansas. She went to small Christian university in Northwest Arkansas, John Brown University in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. And then we both graduated in '78, and she stayed there and was working at the college, and I got a job and had moved to Chicago and then on to South Bend. But we stayed in touch, and you know, through the years, we got married in 1981, so a few years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now you know, somewhere along the line you became engaged in banking, and then you know, and that is what has been the majority of your professional career, right? Is within working with banks and association of banks. How did that go? How did that happen?
Well, that it has been, my career has been in the community banking industry, and so senior year of college, wasn't sure what I was going to do with an economics degree, and took advantage of the Career Placement Center at the University of Wisconsin, and so signed up for interviews, just trying to figure out what it is that you know, I might be doing, and at that point too, just you know, really trusting the Lord to lead me in the right path on that. And so I ended up having an interview. It was like the last interview at 4:30, 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And I could tell the guy that was interviewing me, he was ready for the weekend. You know, I was the last one standing between him and the weekend. And so it was one of those, I thought, well, that there will be no response. Well, ends up I got a call back and had opportunity for another interview in Chicago, and started with Deluxe Checkprinters in Chicago, and trained there. It was an incredible company to work for. Just an amazing opportunity for learning the business and the training, and so that's how I got started.
So eventually, you all ended up in San Antonio, in Texas, and
We
in
did.
San Antonio. How did that? That's a pretty long jump from Wisconsin.
It
to
is. It is a long,
San Antonio.
long way. So I did my training in Chicago, and then my first sales territory was in South Bend, Indiana. So I called on northwestern Indiana, southwestern Michigan, and then moved to Kalamazoo and had banks throughout Kalamazoo and up into the Grand Rapids area. And anyway, 1981, we got married. I got transferred to Cincinnati, so we spent a year and a half in Cincinnati. Got transferred again up to Minneapolis, which was where the corporate headquarters were, and spent just less than a year actually in Minneapolis. And then they asked me if I wanted to transfer to San Antonio, Texas, and I had never been to Texas.
I was going to say, had you ever been there? Ever had a fajita? Had a
No.
chips
We
and
did
salsa?
We did not have chips and salsa. We did not have Mexican food. So now I look back at it, and when we got here, and people were talking about breakfast tacos, I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But had never been to Texas, and of course had the stereotype that everybody here, that we all wear cowboy hats and cowboy boots and
Ride a horse.
and ride a horse. And so I said yes to the transfer, and Linda and I, our oldest son, he was a year and a half maybe when we packed the bags and got on I-35 in Minneapolis and got off I-35 in San Antonio.
How about that?
And started our life here in Texas.
Well, that's quite a jump.
Yeah,
Now, you were with the check company.
I was.
You're transferred, but eventually you left that company and joined forces with an association of banks.
It's
Correct?
true.
Is that?
That's true.
Am I fast forwarding too much there?
No. There are some stories along the way that, where I can just share, the Lord's leading and His provision. But yeah, I was at Deluxe Checkprinters for 27 years, and then I'm with the Independent Bankers Association of Texas, and we're a trade association for community banks, and have approximately 300 member banks around the state of Texas. And I'm director of membership for IBAT, the acronym that we go by, and been at IBAT 21 years. So I've had 2 jobs out of college.
How about that? Wow. Yeah.
But I've been so blessed.
We've talked some over the years about relationships that you have had with bank presidents, but these are not the major corporate banks. These are local, right? How would you define that or describe that for us?
Sure. They really are the community banks that are making the small business loans to people that have a dream. With our association, you do have to be chartered in Texas. So the Wells Fargos and the J.P. Morgan Chases and B of A, those are they're mega banks, and they're not really a community bank. So our focus is just we've got banks across Texas here that have 6 employees and $30 million in assets. And it's just a wonderful place to be, because I'm working with some really amazing people, and Frost Bank here in San Antonio is our largest member bank.
So Frost is considered a community bank.
They are, and
Frost Bank, Bluebell ice cream. There are just some things that HEB. They're just Texas, and it makes so much of the state a place that you want to be. We'll have had our kids move as they've got grown and would move to other places, and there would not be an HEB, or there would not be
Yeah.
a Frost, or there were, even in Dallas for a while, they would have, but then finally when they began to get some of Texas even into Dallas, which would be those brands that just felt like I'm more at home now,
Yeah.
more at home.
So
Good.
I will chase this rabbit when we moved here, and again, that was an interesting time because Linda and I, as we had moved early in our marriage, and looking for a new church and a place to worship, whether it was Cincinnati, Minneapolis, Kalamazoo, everywhere we went, the first church we went to was where the Lord said, this is where you're to be. So we moved to San Antonio, thought that was exactly how the Lord would work here. And so we went to a number of churches and visited, and all wonderful, wonderful churches, but the Lord did not lead us to those individual churches. The church he led us to, and where I'm going with this, is the first Sunday we were there, met some young couples our age. And they started talking about Luby's and Bluebell. And we didn't have cafeterias up in Wisconsin,
didn't
so
know
the whole
about Luby's.
concept of the Luby's was lost on me. And then they're telling both Linda and I, who grew up in the dairy state, about the ice cream here in Texas. And it's like, okay. And then you fast forward, and years later, Bluebell is pretty special, and Luby's over the years has been, and so just it's one of those moments you just kind of.
That's where you
kinda
were
laugh.
introduced to the heart of Texas there.
We were
with them. Yeah.
Right, first Sunday, and then.
What do you, Curt? What do you find that would seem to be maybe some characteristics of leadership in these community banks that you feel like causes them to rise above the pack, that they're known and recognized and appreciated? What is it about them that would cause that?
Thanks for that question. Just immediately comes to mind servant leadership. And you hear a lot about servant leadership and being a servant leader. There are courses on it. There are books on servant leadership. There's everything under the sun. But the people that I've been blessed to work with, I mean, they are, I mean, I see it all the time. They are serving their community. It is servant leadership. And they're putting, the neighbors ahead of themselves. And that's the consistent theme. It is, what can we do to help our neighbor? What can we do? And they're the ones that are there when there's a flood, when there's a tragedy, a tornado, or and we always joke. We say, these are the folks that know the family dog. They know the family dog by name, and so it's really neat to see. So
and in this day and time, when it seems like so much is impersonalized, and you have a hard time even talking to a live human.
Amen.
When you're calling and needing something, that's one of the things about Frost. That's one of the things about, I'm sure, many of the other banks that you're talking about. It's going to be personal.
It is
and
going to be personal.
They may not have all the answers, but you're going to feel like you were respected.
They listen to you, and so it's pretty special, and I'll fast forward. I mean, we talked about just doing the math.